It depends on the nature of struggling. Maybe Salah is struggling to win the league, struggling to play in the Champions
Maybe
League.
good struggle.
A positive struggle.
Yeah.
Well, the struggle continues for Salernitana. They play 16th in the 20-team Italian Serie A, and the basically 6 points above the drop zone. So it's not entirely doom and gloom for Salernitana. If they fight hard, then we've got a chance of beating the drop. Let's look at those in bottom three. It's Hellas Verona, I beg pardon, in 18th spot with 12 points after 19 games. Sampdoria, after 19 games, have got just 9 points. And for Cremonese, the rock bottom, Ciro Dessus and David Okereke play club football there. The Nigerians have got just 8 points after 19 games. So Salernitana, they play 16th. And now let's talk about the other Nigerian. It was a massive day for Charanaboy and, of course, Zembuli side to win action and had a good outing. Won 1-0 at 10-man Inter Milan last night. Well, the boy held Empoli claimed their first Serie A win at Inter since the 18th of January 2004. Well, he played for 90 minutes, made 80% pass accuracy, 1 key pass and 1 big chance created. Well, he also had a shot, made 7 clearances and won 3 fouls. Before yesterday's game, Empoli had lost 13 of the previous 14 Serie A visits to the San Siro. Well, an early red card to Milan Skriniar was second on 40 minutes on clock for a very high foot, catching Caputo on the head, reduced the whole to 10 men. And 66 minutes, well, the visitors made their extra man advantage count when Tommaso Baudanzi struck under Andre Onana's body from the edge of the box. It was 19-year-old's fourth goal in just 10 Serie A appearances this season for Empoli. Well, this is good for Empoli, but this is even better for Charanaboy.
Definitely, Bright. We had this conversation, I think it was last weekend when he scored his first goal in the Serie A for, this Empoli side who have been here and there in terms of form, basically. But it's good that we're seeing some certain level of consistency from a man who has lacked consistency all over his footballing career, unfortunately, due to the injuries he's been having over time. And then right now, it's shocking to know that he's 27. Getting to the peak of his prime. I mean, from here 3 years from now, he's going to be 30. That's a sad story for a youngster who, we had high hopes for when he burst into the national team, and of course when he started playing in Portugal, some in Netherlands rather some years back. So I feel very sad for him, but I feel it's a good way to get himself back on track, and definitely talking about some level of consistency from him. So it's good for him, basically, and good for his confidence as well, because he's also getting to play more games for Empoli in their chase, to stay afloat in the Serie A right now. So I think it's a good thing, for the Charanaboy getting to become a key part of the team. That's something that is rare. That's clearly alien to a man who's been has injuries, and due to the injuries, he's been traveling from Portugal to Turkey. He's played over 4 or 5 clubs in Portugal alone. So that's been the story. I feel very happy for the man that he's getting himself back on track at 27. Quite a late bloomer.
All right, now, earlier yesterday, David Okereke was in target as winless. Cremonese held Bologna to a 1-1 draw. Okereke opened the scoring the 50th minute with from the penalty spots before Bologna hit back. 55 minutes into the game through an own goal by Vlad Chiriches, former sports defender. It was Okereke's 4th goal in 19 league appearances for struggling Cremonese. Actually, talk about the man that has made headlines very recently. His name is Jose Santos Pizarro. Well, Solorex, the latest story predicted to this man, is that he's complaining, saying selecting right players is his biggest challenge as a Super Eagles manager. What, I thought managers always talk about, selection headache, good selection headache, sport for choice in terms of quality and how that's usually good. So how is it, Jose Santos Pizarro's biggest, challenge? That does it point to the fact that we have this much quality, or is it about that maybe Pizarro is just confused?
Well, Brett, I would say maybe there's something going behind the scene in that particular game, probably maybe from the glasses or gets people who made decisions for him.
You think there's pressure?
Well, I think there's a lot of pressure as well. So,
no. we had Iguavo while at AFCON, and he was talking about what was the word now? Pacifying. Yes.
To pacify.
Pacifying the different demands, the cravings,
why he call up players
and the yearnings of different people in Nigeria. It's about that.
Maybe Bright. Maybe Pizarro is just, I don't know, talking too much. because since coming to the national team, he said a lot. And then I don't like people who talk too much and then not achieve. Because
people talk too much and then they get to achieve. Thomas Tuchel, when he came to Chelsea, he said he wants to be the formidable team.
Well, Pesero,
right? That's in one in the Champions League.
It's getting to a year since Pesero became the coach of the national team setup. We are still yet to see any level of progress from the national team. We've lost every key friendly game we've played. The only win we've got under Pesero was against Southampton and Principe, which I believe that the Planet FM team that played the Biakura Unity Cup can get a good result against Southampton and Principe. That won the Biakura Unity competition could get a good result against Southampton and Principe if we're actually good too. That actually shows you that there's no progress with the national team. But this man keeps coming out to say stuff. And I think it's sad. So I think you should go beyond just talking. Yes, I understand the urgency to exhume confidence. Well, basically,
he's saying stuff, not taking stuff.
No, he's saying stuff. Yeah, that's good. They're not taking stuff. But I understand the demand to show confidence. To give a predisposition that you know what you're doing. But then there's a thin line between saying too much and actually doing too much.
Well, Mario, I think you are very quick in judging Jose Pizarro. This man came in, after the World Cup qualification, we played a couple of friendly games.
Now, the period is hard as national team manager, Emma. Is it too short a time to be able to assess Jose Santos Pizarro?
It's not, because the man has engaged himself in some matches and he has lost
so many
friendly games that he has played. The last time he won, like Mari said, was against Sao Tome and Principe, in which he won by 10-0. But at this point in time, even if he has a lot of quality players in his disposal to work with, I think you have to select some players that you think that they are going to give you what you want. Brazil, they have a lot of players. England, they have a lot of players, same as France. But the coach will always stick with the players that he knows that they are going to deliver, that they are going to give him what he wants. So I don't see Jose Pizarro coming to complain that he's suffering from selection headache. If you have a lot of players, just select the quality players that you believe that they are going to work with you and give you the needed result.
We'd always go back to the conversation of a football philosophy, a playing identity, a trademark style of play. For the national team, because if you have a trademark style of play, it will influence the kind of players you call up to the national team, because it will give you a blueprint of the kind of players you want to fit into the system. So except you're just interpreting it the other way around. But if he's talking about the fact that he's suffering, he's finding it difficult to find a starting level, I think that's a dent on his pedigree as a coach, because as a manager, yes, we know that there's supposed to be good headache, but you have a system, you have a philosophy, and that should guide you in selecting who to come to the national team and who should not.
So like, how many games did you say Santos has taken charge of Super Eagles?
Well, right, qualifiers, couple of friendly games as well.
Qualifiers,
just 2 or 3.
Yeah, was there Sierra Leone, right?
Yeah,
1-2-1.
Principe.
Sao Tome Principe won 10. Neo, and then
friendlies,
the Algeria friendly, Costa Rica, Portugal. Yeah, so that's it.
There you go. You can't judge a player. He's not even up to 20 games. You can't judge a manager that hasn't coached up to 20 games as well.
No, but let's look at it on an average. In a FIFA in a year.
Yeah.
How many games do you think the Super Eagles got to play?
What, right?
Yeah, or national teams. How many games do you think national teams got to play in a year?
Not even be up to 5.
Yeah. So we're saying, but that's it. Now, so if you play, let's say six international games in a year, yeah. So that's a year.
Well, right.
So now a year, 6 games in a year is not enough to assess, manager. Now let's look at it. The manager has played 5 games.
Yeah.
And that's almost like playing for a year.
Sure.
In most FIFA calendars.
Right, I have the record. I have the record.
Go ahead.
6 games.
Yeah.
Managed with the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Lost against Mexico. That was the first game. Lost against Venezuela by a goal. Defeated Sierra Leone by 2-1. Defeated Sao Tome by 10-0. Lost against Algeria 2-1, and was pummeled by Portugal by 4-0.
Lost against Costa Rica.
Costa Rica as well. How is that a progressive record?
So right? normally those 6 games we've played, let's say that's a year's assessment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
but he has gotten 6 points in very crucial games as well. 6 points, top of the log in the qualifiers as well. That's something massive.
6 points. That's what I'm saying.
Winning when it really matters as well.
But the friendly games should also depict some level of progress, because when you win the friendly games, you know what next to do. You know if you're progressing whether you're not progressing. I think the friendly game also has a lot to prove.
Now, so like you're totally comfortable with Jose Santos Pizarro in the progression with the national team. You're saying we're on the right track on that Pizarro.
Absolutely, Bright. When you play friendly games, it's not necessarily about results. Probably you get to learn from where you fumble in that particular friendly, trying to build. Trying to progress from the next game as well. That's a concern against Mexico.
Now that's a concern. That's a concern for many, because an average football fan is saying, well, we're not seeing any improvement. We just keep losing these games, and then we talk about making mistakes and then correcting them. It's like the same kind of mistakes we're making every single game, and nothing is changing.
Well, Brett, the fans will always make
I'll accelerate
from that.
I'll accelerate.
We scored 10 goals.
Have you
when last did Nigeria score 10 goals?
But Sulerex, I'll ask you.
10 goals against who?
Sao Tome Principe, Brett, if Ronaldo does that, the whole world will go, probably bizarre or something.
Sulerex, tell me 3 notable, visible improvements you've seen at the national team since Pizarro came in.
Well, three. I'll start from the left back. The first game we played against Mexico, where Calvin Bassey, that connection between Calvin Bassey and Cyril Desert from the left back, probably a pinpoint cross where he was able to bury the ball at the back of the net. Right, that's massive. He made mention of trying to play the ball from the back and also keeping the ball possession as well. Right, it's not something you get in just 10 friendly games. It's a gradual process. The man has played just 2 games that really, really matters, and he has gotten 6 points. I think we should, probably encourage the man and see how he can take Nigeria to the next level as well. 6 points, top of the log, Bright. Come on, it's massive. How many goals difference?
Right.
12 goals difference as well.
See, he says he wants to win Africa and Cote d'Ivoire. Best wishes. Jose Santos Pizarro. In England, Harry Kane. Take what Jimmy Greaves' all-time Spurs top scorers record, hitting his 266th goal for the club. Well, the 29-year-old English striker reached that with yesterday's goal at Fulham. He's 199th in 300 Premier League games for Spurs. Well, Greaves has looked back, scored 266 in 379 games for Spurs between 1961 and 1970. But it is taking Kane less than 79 games less than Jimmy Greaves to actually equal this particular record, but made his Spurs debut in 2011. He's played 415 times for the football club. Wow. This sort of Marizona must be an incredible achievement for one of England's and the world's most potent strikers. Well, now, natural conversation when you see landmark achievements like this, and you can help but wonder what this goals would have won him if it were at Tottenham Hotspur, or where Tottenham, away from Tottenham Hotspur, now, at maybe Man City, maybe at Real Madrid, maybe at Manchester United,
or maybe Chelsea,
maybe even at Chelsea, because this goals would mean a lot. Many will talk about Chelsea until well, the difference, over the last couple of years with Chelsea winning major trophies has been goals. Goals have been lacking. Look at the profile of strikers they've had, very recently. They haven't been there outside. Diego Costa was maybe the last proper striker they had.
Yeah.
Got goals for them and they won trophies. Maybe they won under Thomas Tuchel without a traditional number 9. But didn't get as many goals as possible as well.
Yeah.
But with Harry Kane, well, he should be winning a lot. But he's been through a lot instead.
Yeah, Bright. I think that basically sums up life, because one decision you make could actually affect your whole career and your whole life. Because look at Harry Kane. He goes down Tottenham history as a legend, but then has no trophy to share. I think it's sad, because for a player of your caliber, he showed consistency. We've not seen his strike in the Premier League show that level of consistency for the past 10 years. He hits 20 goals, 25 goals consecutive seasons. That shows you quality. And then sadly, those trophies have not been able to translate to those goals, rather, have not been able to translate to trophies. So I think it's quite sad. And I think deep down in his heart, despite celebrating the milestone, 266 goals scored for Tottenham, matching that Jimmy Greaves record, I know deep down he says to himself, well, these goals would have won me trophies if I was somewhere else.
Now, this is what this man has done in the Premier League. Since the Premier League was created in 1992, after Alan Shearer with 260 goals and Wayne Mark Rooney with 208, Kane is the third top scorer in the Premier League. Or that's exactly who this man is and what he's achieved. He's doing that for sports. Now, before we allow the fans to join the conversation, Everton, Frank Lampard arrived Goodison Park in January 2022. Helped the club avoid the drop last year. Leaves Everton 19th in the Premier League. Sean Dyche, Marcelo Bielsa, Thomas Frank, all admired by Everton's hierarchy.
Well, Bright first up, breakfast long overdue. He wasn't even supposed to coach a team like Everton. Frank Lampard, Bright, his CV says it all. From Derby County to Chelsea, from Everton to Everton as well. No difference. Carlo Ancelotti took that team, to a mid-table team as well. The likes of James Rodriguez, although he left the team to apply stress somewhere else. But Bright, there were a lot of competition in the team, and with the recent addition as well, talking of Dami Gray coming back to the team to try and see how they can probably make those progressions, score goals, and probably create chances. Bright, I just feel Frank Lampard for me is supposed to probably go to where there's no pressure. Try the League 1 or League 2 and see where you can probably get to be there and coach without pressure, because he had all the array of stars, at his disposal to try and see how he can take Everton to the next level. But he couldn't just do that. Although the Premier League is competitive as well, but I don't really think Frank Lampard was the main man for Everton as well. But Bright, kudos to them. They have done the needful, but let's just see who will come in. But I prefer Duncan Ferguson and Marcelo Bielsa to be a good partnership for Everton as well. To make progress.
No, let's not, entirely forget about the man. It's a legend of the game on Dark Telly. So, what next for Frank Lampard now, man?
Well, I think he needs to go home and look at what next to do, because at this point in time, I think he has not really had a good time.
I'm not sure I really like that too.
He needs to go and maybe if an average team comes for him only one side, he can just go there and see how he can just get himself back into the fray.
You think he's not caught for being a manager at top level?
He can still do that, but it depends if that trust will be reposed in him at this point in time, because he has been with Chelsea. It was a huge disappointment, and Everton now, nothing to write from about. So it depends on the level of trust that will be reposed in this man.
I think his managerial stature is, taking too much blow, considering his last few jobs. Chelsea's second season, and now Everton.
I think Frank Lampard, first of all, never had his baby years as a manager. Never had. From Derby County was his biggest job, and then he moved to Chelsea. And for me, I don't think Chelsea's stint was a huge disappointment, because Chelsea had a transfer by that period, helped Chelsea to a top 4 finish, which for me was quite remarkable. But he never went through, the gradual process of learning, what it means to be a proper football manager at different situations and circumstances. And that's why we see him struggle at Everton. He came in as a savior last season, helped them survive relegation. But right now, for one proper full season, he's been struggling. That's basically why there are things he still hasn't been able to understand as a manager. If you look at the best managers in the world, they went through those baby years. From Carlo Ancelotti, Pep Guardiola was a baby manager at Barca. Same story for Jose Mourinho. Mikel Arteta today that we're celebrating was Pep Guardiola's understudy. So they went through all of this and understood the ropes entirely through and through. So that's what Frank Lampard is suffering, because he's learning on the job, and it's difficult learning on the job because a lot of things can go wrong, and in trying to fix them, time is of essence. So that's the thing. For me, I think he has the potential to become a big manager, a top level manager. Chelsea thought of that, but he has to go back to learn the ropes. Probably start with a mid-table side, maybe Crystal Palace, maybe a Brighton, maybe a West Ham. Yeah, a team that won't give him too much pressure. And then from there he learns. That's the story for me.
Let's leave that conversation and allow the fans join up now on 090-222-31091. Well, from the weekend, we'll continue the conversation here and now. Edin Nketiah, Mini says made Gabriel Jesus' spot and he's on. That's in the absence of Gabriel Jesus. Should he keep it? That's a conversation now. Or look at key stats, head-to-head, Edin Nketiah, Gabriel Jesus. We'll join the conversation now, 090-222-310-102-763-8565. Welcome. Good to have you join us. You're welcome.
Right. Good afternoon.
Thanks for joining.
This Gabriel Jesus and the other, the guy tried a lot, because even that goal, it was very smart of him. And I want to say Arsenal has a good replacement for this winter. And concerning our game coming on Friday, it is Man City Arsenal. There is my team luck because he's going to be top Man City.
Oh, thank you very much for joining. The conversation this afternoon will continue. The talk here and now. Welcome, football fan. Name and location. Good to have you join us.
Hello, Great.
Thanks for joining.
There's no need speaking about the bush. Also, Pichero is not the right coach for Spurs. I think after the World Cup, our football chief could have picked coaches that resign. Look at the Dutch coach. Look at the Spanish coach. They are good examples. We have the money, right? It is just a party gift from Ahmed Tinubu. I know Ahmed Tinubu what we can give to Nigeria. That's his statement. He said that his best use is a lot too hard for his Spurs. To me, he still need a Nigeria born player to integrate. What about big league? Have you seen watching the league? He's blood-threatening. Then MPL action, match the three, kudos to Bendel Insurance for their second away win, topping their good luck with 9 points. I'm glad with the officiating drive. Arsenal Benin looks unstoppable. Like in EPL, Arsenal looks unstoppable. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Top Gunner, for joining the conversation this afternoon. We thoroughly appreciate you running through the European leagues yesterday. Fulham lost against Tottenham Hotspur by 2-0. Harry Kane with a decisive goal. Elsewhere in the La Liga Santander was Valencia and Almeria clashing on the Mestalla. It was a 2-2 draw. We'll take more calls now. Welcome, football fans. Good to have you join us here and now. Yeah, thanks for joining.
A manager like my Kappa will come out. There's the one thing that they don't talk without fire. That man will come out and cause the official of that support come out and tell him if he is the problem, if he let him like doing like or if they are that if there's something which the officials are doing which is not right. That's why the team is not invested. And these things happen in field and ground football. I want you to look at something there. There is something that really important. Not when he's coming out in that. That is doing that. My major problem is now look at Declan Rice. You can tell there is no one who tell me that Declan Rice far better than Wilfred. But look at the transfer market now. Everybody now is brought just running to buy Declan Rice, Arsenal all day for the price. But the truth is, if you want to compare this him and Didi is very, very poor sector that Declan Rice. For why? Because I won't be there for only politics alone.
Drive it home.
So what I'm trying to say is our Nigerian players are even Di Maria. Look at how old is Di Maria. He's still playing football. So he has more time to play football. Thank you for having me.
Right, thank you very much for joining. Appreciate you. Yeah, good to have you, Jonas. Welcome.
My name is Nifreke. I'm calling from Blue.
Welcome, Nifreke.
But I want to ask this Super Eagles coach. He said that team selection is giving him a headache. Is it because our players they are too good that does not know how to select, or our players is not good enough? Because journalists should have asked him the headache, is it because the player is not good or the player is too good for him to say that? And another thing I want to say is a big congratulations to Arsenal. You know, when the league begin, everybody say that league is not get started. But from the look of what I saw on Sunday, Arsenal is a very good contender, and I wish them the best luck of the winning match. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Nifreke, for joining the conversation. You're thoroughly Appreciate it. Welcome, Football Fan. Communication.
Good afternoon, Jim.
Yeah, Victor.
Good afternoon, Darren and the Marizona. But Jim, let me say that the fans of Chelsea are really used to winning what again. Because if you look at the way the stand that Chelsea is really standing in the Premier League table, stand that Chelsea is standing in the Premier League table is nothing to look out for. And let me say other things I live up with. So it shows that those teams this season are not doing well for them to play football. So for the transfer window must help the team. And the coach must keep things clear. But again, let me say that for Dakar United and Dakar, especially that match that Dakar FC, I attempt to play that because it's school. So people should not hide under. And because of their Nigeria, I don't want to let them beat it and
all right, Victor.
Thank
you very much for joining. Appreciate you. Welcome, Football Fan. Name location. Good to have you with us. Yeah, welcome. If you're
you manager the comments are now here. I want to talk about the and the I think for me, it's not about playing the friendly match and playing the competitive match. After all, there's an opponent you encounter in the friendly. There are no tough than those in the friendly competitive match. Scoring 10 goals against Atomic to me is nothing. When you go to play against Kotika, you fumble and you have to make 4 goals. If you go to South America, I think you see Argentina, Brazil. If you come to Europe, you talk about France, Germany, and football, and England. But when you come to Africa, I mean, Nigeria, you should be able to mention Nigeria. So the way he is going, can we now say convincingly that if he was in charge, that he will qualify for World Cup? I don't think it's possible. So, to me, or for me, Jose Peseiro is not a good man for Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The rest of Europe from last night. The Portuguese Primeira Liga, Vizca won, Chaves won. And of course, the Coup de France, Paris Saint-Germain beat País de Castell by 7 goals to nothing. Kylian Mbappe scored 5 times in that particular game. Of course, Neymar on hand. Carlos Soya also on hand to grab a goal for himself. We look forward to the fixtures for today. We'll hit the breaks here very quickly and when we return, I would actually the Eddie Nketiah, Gabriel Jesus conversation, and we'll look at transfer stories, your calls and comments from Facebook on the other side of things. So stay right here with us and let's get talking in a bit. transfer in the summer. Well, Eddie Nketiah by mid-April was, convinced by Mikel Arteta to sign a new 2.5 year deal. And of course, that has kept him back at the Emirates. Alexander Lacazette, also lost his place in the team. Eddie Nketiah took full advantage of that, scored 5 goals in the final 8 games of the season. And manager Mikel Arteta was convinced striker had a future at Arsenal, and Eddie agreed to stay in North London for the long term. There came £45 million man from Manchester City, Gabriel Jesus. Now, he's consigned Eddie Nketiah to the bench more often than always, but Gabriel Jesus picked up an knee injury at the World Cup. Nketiah had been limited to substitute appearance in the Premier League before that, but he's now taking the opportunity fully. Now let's look at the stats now, how he compares with other strikers, post-World Cup in Qatar. Now, since the turn of the World Cup, only Marcus Rashford and Erling Haaland have scored more goals than Eddie Nketiah. Marcus Rashford has scored 8 times, while Erling Haaland has scored 7. Eddie Nketiah is next on that list with 6 goals rather. Riyad Mahrez of Manchester City and James Ward-Prowse of Southampton, they've scored 5 times each. Now, the stats suggest Eddie Nketiah is more of a goal threat compared to Gabriel Jesus. I won't want to say a country mile ahead of him, but let's use street miles ahead of, ahead of the man, Gabriel Jesus, in terms of goal scoring. Now, the stats would tell he's Arsenal's top scorer this season with 9 goals in all competitions. Jesus, meanwhile, is on an 11-game run without scoring a single goal, which dates back to the 3-1 home win over Tottenham Hotspur on the 1st of October last year. Now, in terms of the Premier League this particular season, you look at the stats, the 90 minutes goal scored, Eddie Nketiah scores every 0.61 minutes, and you compare that's the goal expectancy. You look at Gabriel Jesus, 0.37. Now, Eddie Nketiah ranks number 10 in goals scored in the Premier League, while Gabriel Jesus ranks 32nd. Expected goals, he ranks 3rd in the Premier League. Gabriel Jesus ranks 9. For shot on target, Eddie Nketiah ranks 3rd, 1.99, compared to Gabriel Jesus, that's ranked 11th with 1.47. 80 places downwards is 83rd in the Premier League. Gabriel Jesus averages a goal every 290.4 minutes, while Eddie Nketiah scores every 143.2 minutes in the league. So why is there still a conversation as to around who brings more and who offers more? When you consider the fact that primarily the goal scorer's job is to get goals, and if you go by goals, then Eddie Nketiah, as I said earlier, is streets ahead of Gabriel Jesus.
Right. I think it's simple. I'll be very straightforward. Basically, first up, the primary objective of a striker is to score goals. Basically, go there and score goals. But right now football has evolved basically, and the strikers now do a lot of things. Strikers now help in pressing. Strikers help in winning possession and try to mark as well. So for Nketiah, he gets the goals. He gives us now a lot of goals. But for Gabriel Jesus, here's the story. Apart from the stats that you read out, Jesus, helps Arsenal in pressing. He's redefined the art of pressing as a striker. He's one possession more in the attacking third as compared to Nketiah. Gabriel Jesus runs more in the attacking third as compared to Nketiah. Gabriel Jesus has more passes in the opposition box as compared to Nketiah. So here's the thing. Jesus gives them a lot more bites in the attack, gives them, he keeps the opponents at bay, keeps the opponents at the back foot more as compared to Nketiah. Nketiah's job is just to find a good position to sit, let the Sakas and the Odegaards work it out for them to score. Now, so it depends on the how Mikel Arteta wants to line up his team for me.
Now, sorry, that's what the problem is. A lot of people look at Eddie Nketiah, kind of goals he scores, and says, well, that's easy tapping. That was a single goal. It's just the right place and the right time. But it takes work to be at that right place at the right time. And then there's been a lot of complaint about Gabriel Jesus and his positioning. He's doing a whole lot. Now, Marius talked about pressing. He's there pressing. He's there doing what Ralf Rangnick likes. He's there in the face of defenders. He's there tracking back. He's there doing all of the hard work. But when it comes to taking up good positions in the box, more like a fox in a box. Because now we sat here on multiple occasions and talked about the fact that if you need to win the Premier League, then you need strikers that can hit double digits. Now, you can go back. Teams that have won the Premier League, Chelsea, They've had strikers. Even Nicolas Anelka goals he was scoring that season was astronomical. Now, for Arsenal, it's concerning. It's halfway point now. Now, the conversation comes in very, very, very important because now we're stuck in two strikers. One does everything except score goals, and the other, he does just scoring goals, which is the primary duty of the striker.
Right, first off, for you to win the Premier League in 2017, there's no season Gabriel Jesus hasn't been involved in 10 goals and above. So, right, that clearly shows you an experienced striker that
understand the fact that yes, it's not about scoring, it's about creating chances for your other opponents to score. It's about being there in the box, arriving basically. And Jesus is a lot better. If you look at the stats, Jesus arrives in the box a lot more, a lot more effective than Eddie Nketiah. So Nketiah's strong with his forte is just the fact that he scores goals. But what about it when Arsenal are not pressing? What about when Arsenal are not with the ball? Does he mark? Does he try to regain possession? I think all of this is basically why we cannot just totally pull out Gabriel Jesus from the conversation, because he's always there. He would come in and give Arsenal a lot of energy. Look at when Arsenal play with Nketiah as compared to with Gabriel Jesus. He gives them energy. He helps them mark, and he takes the burden, of creativity off just Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, and Martinelli. He does create as well, and he gives the team, varieties in terms of attacking options, and that's when Nketiah has not been able to come through.
Now, let's get something. In all this conversation, while highlighting the strength and the weaknesses of these two players, it leads Mikel Arteta a happier manager. But now, Gabriel Jesus will now be looking over his shoulder because he's now got real competition. Now, before now, we'll see games where, Gabriel Jesus will take up to maybe the 75th minute to be withdrawn. No, but it kind of looks like Gabriel Jesus could be hacked off at halftime, for a certain time, because now, in games where they have possession, all they need is just someone to apply the finishing touch. That sounds like you need Eddie Nketiah.
Certainly, Bright. Actually, when Gabriel Jesus was out injured, people were really worried, especially most of the Arsenal fans, because they never trusted Nketiah to stay situated as a result of Gabriel Nketiah's development. But even at that, it depends on the game. Some game, Gabriel Nketiah may even need to start and play the entire 90 minutes, and some game, Gabriel Jesus may also need to also come in. But it depends on the strength of the opponent, because if the opponents are very strong, very tactical, I think Gabriel Jesus will need to be around, because he will need to mark.
Have benefited a lot more from his presence there. You look at, Bukayo Saka meanwhile scored 8, Gabriel Martinelli 7, and Martin Odegaard 7. Their best scoring season, yet following, Gabriel Jesus of an opening play assist every 245 minutes. Well, that's it. I'm not sure we'll have more time to dig in deeper into the stats. We'll have that later tomorrow. Let's go to Facebook now after this call and look at the stats and the comments from there. Welcome.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, Comrade Sylvester.
Yeah, you're right. I think I want to address long paternization himself. It's long overdue. I don't want people to do the of the sister. I would advise him to go back to coaching this because he really took Chelsea to a relegation. The same thing with Everton. So we should go to learning down and start it again. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining Facebook. Solarics from Arizona.
Yeah, we have 3 comments from the live feed, and I'll start with Joseph Sparrow. And he comes in to say, Jose Pizarro is trying to figure out the right combination in defense, midfield, and attack, and he has really played top games. So I'm thinking like I'm advocating for Graham Potter. Let's allow him continue. He will get it right. The most important games he has won them. So let's be a bit patient with him. Alexander comes in to say, good afternoon, Sports Crew. This is Alexander from Itan. Please update me on Chelsea transfer news. Then finally, Israeli the Gunner says, good afternoon, Sports Crew. I love the way MPFL is going. Hope there is consistency forward-ever and backward-ever. Israeli the Gunner fan.
All right, 30 seconds if you're.
I've been a very big fan of Harry Kane. But sometimes for me, I feel he's not very good choice when it comes to his career. Because that he was playing at Chelsea and now he's used to him as he plays and going to the guarantee of trophy that is getting good money. Why can't you just look at now sport a better club where even though you're not playing very well, you win trophies and you get your money. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining. Now, today, the EFL Cup, the last 4. It's Southampton versus Newcastle by 9 p.m. The FA Cup also returns Accrington Stanley taking Boham Wood. Well, sorry to like that. In the Serie A, it's Lazio versus AC Milan at the Stadio Olimpico. The Bundesliga is also back with some fixtures. Schalke for taking RB Leipzig, Bayern Munich taking FC Cologne at the Allianz Arena, Hyderabad in Wolfsburg, Hoffenheim taking VfB Stuttgart. Is a big story from there. The Eredivisie back with 2 fixtures. FCMN taking PSV Eindhoven. Sparta Rotterdam.
The defender, a 6.5-year deal. Should if it be agreed between the two clubs with personal terms likely formality, they have not been agreed. Talking about Malo Gusto, the Lyon right back. He also talked about the sudden flare of interest seems to be at the urging of Graham Potter. Reportedly desires that this transfer happen. Lyon will
started all 4 of Poland's
be their home